It's time for the No Nonsense Roundtable. Insights to capture your imagination from people you know and people you'd like to know about. Each week, a different guest from a different walk of life. Now, here is the host of the No Nonsense Roundtable, Dom Genova.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of the No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Dom Genova, your host, every Saturday 10 to 11 right here on News Radio AM 1180. And I'd like to say you can get the past shows on NoNonsenseRoundtable.com, both as YouTubes and wherever you get your iHeart podcasts. And the theme for summer is Rochester and how great it is and what you get to do and how you get to do it. And one of the great things that we have here is local entertainment, local bands. And what I decided to do is invite three representatives of three local bands in. Some time or other, these people have crossed paths, and maybe they haven't crossed paths, but we're going to mix it up together and find out what they do, how they do it, why they do it, and get a little bit of background stories and maybe a story or two about things that have gone right and things that have gone wrong. The first person, I'm doing this alphabetically to be politically correct. So the first person we have is Steve Ball. Steve is involved with leader of, I wouldn't say you're leader of, the band's called the Dawgs, right?
Part of the Dawgs, yep.
Okay. We have Jerry Boone. Jerry Boone, you've been a part of, founder of the Skycoasters, and it's been 56 years you've been doing this?
Next year will be 55 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Karl LaPorta. And Karl LaPorta has become a very good friend of mine. And one of the reasons that I know Karl LaPorta is from the show. And Karl's story, he is in a band called Music of the Stars, a great band. You know, you call it a cover band, right?
It's sort of, I would say it's maybe a tribute show band.
Okay. But Karl's claim to fame, and very humble guy, but the Rochester Music Hall of Fame got started because Karl LaPorta wrote a letter to the editor of the newspaper saying, hey, you know, we should have a Rochester Music Hall of Fame. And apparently what happened is says, okay, wise guy, go start one. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. You feel that way about it, go ahead. And you did. And now we have a Rochester Music Hall of Fame, which is in addition to what you're doing with the people you play with in your band.
Correct.
Yeah, which is really kind of a cool story because I tell people that a lot of people you know and you want to know more about, like Don Alhart or Malik Evans, and some people you don't know and you should know, like these three gentlemen here. And so let's start with your early education in music. And do you have things in similar, not in similar, whatever? Steve, I mean, how did you get interested in music when you were very young, and at what age?
I think probably started like noticing music in the 9-10-year-old kind of range. Picked up on Kiss because of their flamboyance, and it just kind of caught my eye as a young rocker. From there, sort of progressed through my high school years, and didn't pick up the bass until I was, actually almost out of high school. But followed that vein into sort of what would be then the new wave kind of punk scene, and then onward. So rock and roll has been with me since I was, a youngster.
Now, formal education in music. Do you read music?
That's an interesting story because I shut down my playing for about 25 years. Played when I was really young. Stopped playing while the kids were growing up. Picked it back up about 10 years ago. And really kind of went full force because of the Dawgs. The Dawgs were the impetus for me to start being serious about playing again, and had just learned how to read music. So I'm totally informally educated on music, totally.
Any classical music when you were a kid, or got interested by a relative or anything? And Kiss, that's an awfully interesting group to say that you admired, you emulated.
Well, I think as a youngster, they were eye-catching, right? I think everybody's got to have their gateway into something better, But when you're 9, 10, 11 years old and you see the makeup, you see the flames, you see that catches your eye. So
I'm going to get to Karl next because that's sort of like the opposite of you, right? It was formal music, wasn't it?
Well, my dad was a piano and violin teacher. And I took for 10 years under my dad. And when I got into high school, rock music was all the rage and everything. And I was approached by a lifelong friend of mine now. And he says, well, we're looking for a keyboard player. Do you think you can play it? And, I was always diddling around on the piano, the Beatles, or whatever else was out there besides my classical music, much to the disdain of my dad. But, so I started playing, but I needed a keyboard. And I was using somebody else's keyboard that had one. And my dad says, I'm not buying you a keyboard until you make money on your first job. So we didn't have a job. So one of the guys in the band gave me $20 and says, tell your dad we played and we made $20 a piece. and that was it. So I gave my dad the $20 and he went out and bought me a Farfisa organ.
We had Felix Cavalieri on the show a few months ago, and he was a founder of the Rascals. And he said the same thing. His parents were highly educated. They believed in classical music and and his dad was like, "You're not doing this. You're not going to make any money," and he kind of proved them wrong. So Jerry, tell me about your start. I mean, 55 years doing this.
Yeah, it's a long time. I was fourth grade, when they start giving you an option to pick instruments, and my Uncle Reg had all 4 saxophones and a clarinet. And so I started off on a clarinet, and then a few years later after that, it wasn't that cool an instrument to get in rock and roll, and I was, following all the soul music and everything else, and I just heard Junior Walker and the All-Stars playing shotgun, and a long story short, I got onto tenor sax, which was at that time when I was like 11 or 12, almost bigger than I was. I was pretty small, and I just went from there, and then, it was a great ride because my brother played drums, and so my mom always put together a band with neighborhood kids, and that went into a high school band that my brother was in, who brought me into his band, and then from there, 1968, started the Skycoasters. So that's sort of my path, but I always took lessons and, did that until out of high school, and by then I was just very busy with the band, writing out horn parts and that kind of stuff.
So taking lessons, who'd you take lessons from?
His name was Don Coley, and he was pretty, sort of classical kind of guy. So I had to learn all the arpeggios and scales and that kind of thing. I wasn't destined for an Eastman School music kind of guy. No way.
So, Steve, you have a question you want to ask?
Yeah, Jerry, so really, if you trace it all the way back, the Skycoasters is the only real band you were ever in all the way through from high school on?
Well, actually, the minute I picked up that clarinet, this is during, the baby boomer time, and in our neighborhood, we had 9 guys. So everybody had a kid, right? And so there was a lot of guys and girls around in the neighborhoods back then. We had enough people to put together a band because everybody picked up an instrument, right? So my mom put that together, and that was called the Saints, and she got some. Eddie Meath was involved, and we got some horn parts and charts from him, and off we went. So it was like I had that kind of band. Then my brother got into a rock band called the Abstractions, which is very good. And then from that, when that broke up and they went to college, I formed the Skycoasters. So I think I've always been in a band since I was like 6 months into learning how to play an instrument,
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's all in your blood. And the thing that I find is that this is one of these things where you realize you want to do it when you're like 10 years old. No matter who I talk to in the music business, I didn't all of a sudden pick this up when I was 25. I've always known, and for different reasons. And we're going to talk more about that right after this. Well, welcome back. You're listening to the No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Dom Genova, your host, here with 3 local musicians from local bands. And we have Steve Ball from the Dawgs. We have Jerry Boone, who has, founder of the Skycoasters, 55 years. I mean, that is just amazing. And Karl LaPorta with Music of the Stars. Now, let's do a little retail here. When I buy a ticket to go see, let's say the Dawgs, what is it like?
We try to be like really interactive. I'd like to think of us as a show. If somebody says to me in 10 words or less, how do you describe the band? And I say, we are 4 cheap tuxedos away from being a wedding band. That's us. We are our sets are crafted so that they're interactive. We've got some flat screens up with lyrics and video. We wear matching suits. We are into the audience. It's really all about that. We have, because we're fundraising only, which is the cornerstone of what we do. We have contests like Name That Tune contest to get the crowd into what we're doing, all in the name of having fun first, and second, driving some fundraising and some awareness. So it's as close to being a circus as it can be, I think.
You mentioned something there that I want our listeners to comprehend, is that you do this all for fundraising.
We do. We are 100% compensation free, and so every penny is driven back to the community partner that we're working with that particular night. So at the door, the 50-50, the contests, all of what we do channels its way back to that partner for the evening.
And after the bottom of the hour, I want to get into a little bit more about that, about what you do. The Jefferson Award that you just won, we're going to go more into detail about that. But let me move on to Jerry. Jerry, tell me about the same thing. What do we get when we get a performance from the Skycoasters?
Well, it's a 9-piece party band, so party band really is what drives it. And what we've done is like Steve, we really try and it's not a band playing and people watching. It's more like you're part of us, we're part of you. We're having a great time. We want you to have a great time, kind of thing. And we play a variety of music, which makes us rather unique. So you may see something like 70s retro disco, a medley of that. Then we might do Beach Boys, and one of the unique things we've done is you talk about getting the crowd involved and so forth. We'll bring out a surfboard, which looks like a surfboard, and if it's a wedding or something like that, we'll get the bride up on it, and during Surfin' USA and songs like that. So it makes them they're the people are watching them and they're having a good time, and they'll talk about it afterwards. And we do a variety, we'll do some country, we'll do some 80s, 90s, and then brand new stuff that's right on the radio today from Dua Lipa, someone like that, or Lizzo. So it's high energy, it's fun, costumes, and we really get into it.
Costumes? Tell me about the costumes.
Well, when we do retro disco, for example, and I'm happy to say I sort of invented this. I went and got a couple G.I. Joe helmets from Arlene's costume shop, and I spray painted them silver, and then I went and bought a couple of those disco balls that you see, and somehow I screwed that into the top and put a chin strap on that. So we'll put those on with the John Travolta jacket, the white jacket and the pinstripes, and we'll say, we're ready we got our 6-inch balls on our head, we're ready to go. And so we'll get them going and bring them back into that mode for the retro. Same thing, cowboy hats. I have a corn hat. I was on a business trip and picked up one of those corn hats when I was in Iowa. So we'll put that on, and then some cowboy hats when we do a medley of the country, and it goes on and on. I mean, I have a huge wardrobe box that the band uses for putting these hats on. Dom, it's a sickness.
It's got to come in handy on Halloween.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
So, Karl, tell me about your show.
I think I mentioned that we were a tribute show band, but not like your regular tribute band that'll work with one artist. We're not like an Elvis or an Elton John. What we are is we do a block of different artists. And it could be Neil Diamond, it could be the Beatles, it could be the Four Seasons, or it could be Aretha Franklin or the Carpenters. And all the while, with each artist, we have video in the back. And what we try and do is we try and get people to remember back what they were doing at that time of their life, whether it was 1966, 1970, or whatever. And that video helps enhance that. And all the while, I mean, as far as the show goes, you will see Rhonda and Frank interact with during the songs. You may see them out in the audience, and our guitar player John Dretto, he could be anywhere on the premises, even on the roof. You never know. I mean, he's been, and he could be doing a backflip on stage. He can be doing many things. So, I consider us, like I said, we're entertaining, and and so as part of the show, like I says, we'll be entertaining the people and also bringing them back the memories of the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Can I jump in? How do you trigger the video for the different segments?
We have a guy with the band that does nothing but that.
Okay.
So as soon as we get done, let's say we're doing the Four Seasons and there's the video there, he knows that the next block might be Aretha Franklin. So he triggers that right away.
Yeah.
And so we'll just go from one block to another. And sometimes between the blocks, Frank or Rhonda will do a little bit of talking about these particular artists.
Cool.
And one of the things is our singers, in many cases, sound a lot like the artists.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what you don't find in a lot of bands, usually, like I said, with a tribute band, you have somebody that's specifically geared for Journey or whatever. But that's what kind of makes us unique.
Nice.
Well, and the video, I mean, you see Neil Diamond. It's enough of a video to see Neil Diamond, but probably short enough that you don't get sued, right? I mean, is that what it is?
Correct. Oh, we've got all that covered. I went through that with the Hall of Fame today. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Steve, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of pay honor to both of you guys and what you're doing, because I think what we are really is, hopefully imitation is that, the best form of flattery, because when I think about what you're doing in terms of the screens and the energy on stage and what you do with the variety and the costume changes, I mean, we're trying to be a little bit of all of that, right? And I think it's, having seen it being done so well by both of you characters, I think is one of the things that we are drawing from, and why maybe this fundraising thing is working. So I just wanted to call that out.
And you used the right word, characters. Very good.
Well, yeah. Well, it's characters and characters. I mean, the thing is that you guys have a very, very nice shows. You're doing something for the community. It's local. It's another thing that's adding to the great assets that Rochester has, and a lot of people just need to be more aware of it. Karl?
One thing I'd like to say to Steve is that to try and find people that will do what you are doing, actually donating everything to charity. I mean, I'm sure that Jerry and myself, we've played a lot of benefits and a lot of events like that. But for somebody to do that all the time, it's amazing.
Right.
Thank you.
Tip my hat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, I love it when somebody tees up the ball for me, because we're going to head into a break, and that's exactly what I want to get into after the break. Well, welcome back. You're listening to the No Nonsense Roundtable, and it's the bottom of the hour. And the bottom of the hour, as anybody who ever listens to this show knows, I like to give a shout out and a thank you to the Bob Johnson Auto Group, who's the sponsor of the show, pays for the show, and allows me to do what I'm doing every Saturday. And a great place to buy a car, buy a truck, or get a car or truck fixed. And they have lots of dealerships all over the Rochester and Syracuse area, and I would recommend that you do business with them, because they're just good people. That's all there is to it. So we're here today with a show that is concentrated on local music. We have Steve Ball from the Dawgs. We have Jerry Boone from the Skycoasters, and Karl LaPorta from the Music of the Stars. And they have a lot of things in common, and a lot of things maybe not in common. And one thing in particular, I said before the show went into break that Karl teed up a ball for me, and literally we have Steve Ball here, who is a member founder of the Dawgs, and the Dawgs have just gotten a wonderful award, a community award, and it's the Jefferson Award. And let's talk about that, because you're not only got this award, but then you're heading off to the Nationals. And let's explain what the award is first, and then a little bit about your involvement.
So the Jefferson Award is actually a nationally established award, and this right now there are currently about 50 participants across the country. So participant cities, Rochester being one of them. The local chapter, if you will, is being sponsored between ESL and Channel 10, WHEC 10. And so what this award is to identify and to, I guess, recognize really local public servants for what they do. And this year there were 5 recipients, the 2022 award. There are 5 recipients, of which the Dawgs are one of. The other 4 have amazing stories themselves in what they're doing out in the community. We happen to win not only the local recipient of that, but we were chosen to be to head to the national event. And so the really to us, the honor is not only were we nominated and recognized locally to be a recipient locally, but of the 5, we were chosen to head to Indianapolis for the National Jefferson Award for public service.
Now, you do these performances for charity, and do you know how much money you've raised approximately for people?
So we've been doing this since 2014, and in that time we've raised, we just actually hit, we raised $130,000.
Oh.
God bless you. So how do you seek out these organizations? They seek out you? I mean, how does this whole thing work?
So, it was kind of like turning a ship at the beginning, where we had to pursue them. And so what I would do is literally look in, online and find 501c3 organizations in Rochester and cold call them and say, hey, this is what we do. We would love to do a show with you. As time has gone on, we repeat with some of those same agencies we've worked with through the years. So our schedule's filled a little bit that way. And now, because of the award and some of the other things we're doing, we're starting to get people to come to us.
So tell me some of the organizations you've actually raised this money for.
So 2 things. One, Cure Childhood Cancer, Alzheimer's Association of Rochester, Pirate Toy Fund, Happy Birthday Cha Cha Cha, who gives birthday presents to city school children. Great story there. School of the Holy Childhood, all local agencies based here. Money stays here. Those are the kinds of organizations we work with. So.
I love when somebody leads me into something. You say, great story there. Tell me the great story.
Well, I think so number one, we work with these agencies. All of them are non-for-profit. That's really one of the bylaws of our band, is we work with only non-for-profits, not individuals. And one of the early ones we found was this Happy Birthday Cha 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 and Carrie Green. And Carrie, as it turns out, is actually an early recipient of the Jefferson Award herself. And so we started working with her. She goes into the city school district, picks kindergarten through 2nd grade in some of the toughest schools in the city, and gives every child in those classes in that school a birthday present, regardless of when their birthday is, in season, out of season, in school year, out of school. Every child gets a present. And quite honestly and unfortunately, many of those children would get nothing if they hadn't gotten this from Carrie and her team. So we've had the opportunity to work with some amazing organizations, and what they do is it's humbling to be part of them. And so that's just one example, honestly.
It's admirable. Now, obviously, since you're doing this, you're doing this for charity, you have a day job.
Yes. Actually, and this is amazing too, to me. The day job is what led us to this. And the day job, my day job, as well as my guitar player partner, Lou Germano, is to work for Wegmans. And we came upon this in 2014 by doing a once-a-year United Way fundraiser within Wegmans in our business unit. So it started with a once-a-year show for United Way, raising money. And over the years, into 2017, 2018, Lou and I decided to do this more publicly. And that's when we began to turn this to what it is now. So,
and Jerry, your job.
My job, as far
well,
as,
you just retired from a job.
Oh yeah. So I've spent a lifetime in sales and marketing. I sold for Xerox copiers out of college, then Kodak, a long stint there, and then finally, about the last 20 years, I was selling market research for a company. So focus groups, surveys that would be, sold to the Gap and Kohl's or wherever retailers want to know more about their customers. So we help them out that way. And I just did retire from this company. So now I'm working pretty much full-time Skycoasters. And I do all the booking and it's and marketing, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of fun. But I set a high bar that way to make sure that we stay on top and from what I can do. And each member has their own talents to help with the band. So it's not like just, my thing at all.
And Karl, piano tuning.
Yeah. Mostly retired now, but for 35 years, I was pretty much a self-employed piano technician. Traveled a good part of the state, to work, and very enjoyable. A lot better than the first years of being in the offset printing business. And I only say that because I'm not the type of guy that likes to be indoors 8, 10, 12 hours a day. I'd rather be out and going from one place to another and tuning and meeting different people. And it was just great. And it was all about music, too.
Well, you were telling me at one time, too, there was a point in time when the pianos were a heck of a status symbol. People had these big pianos and they didn't know how to play them even, right? I mean,
oh, yeah. Yeah, so they'd, I'd go in there and tune the piano and I'd play a couple songs afterwards and they'd hire me to do any of the parties they had.
Wow.
So I would do that. That's...
But you were talking about these pianos were incredibly expensive, and people had them as just to show people they had money, right? I mean, some of these people,
they
right?
had a lot of them prestige, nobody really played them. Some of them had these players inserted in them, so they would turn them on at dinner time, and they could play, not like the old player pianos that you had to pump the pedals and everything, but now you just turn it on.
Is there a difference between a Steinway and a Baldwin, or whatever it is? I mean, is it really a difference or not?
Yes, there is. A lot of it is how the piano is made, and Steinway was always considered the top of the line, and they're right up there today. But there are other companies that are catching up. Kawai has been catching up. Their technology has come a long way, and so the gap has closed, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and we're heading into another break, and we're going to talk more about this right after that. Well, we're back. You're listening to the No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm here today with Steve Ball from the... What do you call it? Rock group? What do you call it? You just
we call ourselves the Rock and Roll Fundraisers.
Okay, and Jerry Boone, who is the founder of the Skycoasters, and Karl LaPorta, who plays with the Music of the Stars. Can you say you're a founder of the Music of the Stars?
Oh, no. That was Frank Schrout.
Okay, but you can say you're the founder of the Rochester Music Hall of Fame. That's what we can say.
Correct.
Yeah, it's good. I like that. So we have 9 minutes in this segment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each of you 3 minutes to talk about anything you want to talk about, probably like how to get in touch with you and your webpage and everything. And we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order this time because we started out in alphabetical order. So, Karl LaPorta, why don't you start?
Okay. If anybody is interested in catching the band in July, we will be performing on Friday, July 8th at Seneca, Niagara, at the Stir. And there's no charge for that. You just come down, hear the band, gamble all your money away, whatever you want, or win $1,000. You never know. And on the 29th of July, we will be at Turning Stone Casino. Same story. No charge to see the band. Come on down. We have some people that are coming to both places that are actually staying overnight, and I think Dom.
No. Nina and I are going to be there. But is young John going to be John? John. No. We were talking about John before. John has the presence of Jimi Hendrix, I think, and he has the looks of Morrison, and he's like a fifth of your age, for God's sakes. I mean, he's got what? He's got like 1 million followers on TikTok. I mean, this kid and the nicest kid you ever want to meet, really.
Oh, he really is. He's very well grounded. He's a family guy, and his dad is a wonderful person who's been in the music business for a very long time. He owned Music Lovers way back when, and For his years, John is very mature. He fits in with us. You'd never think so, but he does.
Yeah, I'm going to tell a great story. His dad told me one day. He says he bought bought John a guitar, and the kid was very young, very, very young. And he's out in front of he takes the guitar. He's out in front of the house one day, and he wants to raise money for playing his guitar. And his dad says, "Well, you're never going to make money doing that." He says, "Dad, I made $3 already." He's like 7 years old. He didn't know what the heck he was doing, but he's going to do it anyway. We will be there. We love your show. Jerry?
Well, I wanted to just give thumbs up. Whenever I send an email out to the band, it's always to the Sky family. So it's not only the 9 members, but then we have a total of 4 crew, 2 who are with us, and then 2 with Audio Images, who do they have a huge stage. You guys have heard of them. They're amazing, and do all the sound and lights. So we wouldn't be anything without those guys. They're so good at what they do, and it makes it great. I would like to just, people say, where are you playing? You can go to skycoasters.com and just hit schedule, and you'll see all summer and right into the winter. But starting on the 4th of July, we have, and this is really hats off to the crew, we have 2 big gigs on the 4th of July in Fairport in the afternoon from 12:30 to 3. Then those guys pack that whole thing up, and we go to Brighton and play from 8 to 10, followed by the fireworks. So it's one of those special, we've been doing that probably for 25 years at both places. So, and we also have a lot of outdoor gigs. I was telling Steve while we were talking, like the Geneseo Summerfest is huge. You'll go to these places and there'll be out there maybe 1,000 people who've been there for 2 hours waiting. It's awesome. Oswego Harbor Fest, the Avon Corn Fest, where I get to wear my corn hat, and I bring one for the host who's doing it, and then the Wayne County Fairs. And then finally, don't want to take up a lot of time, but we do a big fundraiser in the fall, and we're so happy to be back. It'll be for like our 36th year. The Skycoasters Turkey Bash. It'll be a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, so it's Friday, November 11th, and I am so happy we ended up getting a coolest place to have this, you guys, the Rochester Museum and Science Center. We're taking the whole freaking thing over, and so we'll have our band on the 3rd floor with BB Dang, which is a really great band that gets a lot of young kids. And then we're going to have a silent disco on the 2nd floor. And if you haven't done one of those, you got to do it. Free pizza and everything else. And it is helping honor flight veterans.
You have to explain what this silent disco is, because when you were on the show the last time, you explained this. It sounds like a hoot. Explain that to everybody.
It is. Like, for example, you'll walk up to the 2nd floor of the museum, and you'll walk in, they'll hand you earphones, and they'll have 300 pair of earphones, because that's how many people can fit on that particular part. And they'll have 3 DJs there, and everything is silent. In other words, there's no noise going on. You're hearing everything through your earphones. And each DJ has a different genre. So maybe the one's doing 60s to 80s, next one 80s to 2000, then brand new stuff in the 3rd. And here's the cool part, you guys. You got your volume control and your earphones, and then you've got a switch. And every time you change that switch from 1, 2, or 3 of the DJs, they're playing a whole different playlist, right, from that genre. But what the cool part is it changes color. So, track 1 is green, then it's blue, then it's red. And so you'll be out there dancing, you'll have red earphones on, and you'll see all of a sudden everything's turning green around you. And you go, what the hell are they listening to?
Something
different. You jump right in, and then you're in with a bunch of people who are all listening to a different tune.
That's fabulous.
What a hoot. Steve, last words.
Okay, so first of all, you can find us at our website, dawgsforacause.com. That's cause with a Z.
Yeah, and it's DAW, right?
DAWGSFORACAUZ.com. Dawgs for a Cause. Dates, information about us, etc. Also about our community partners. Secondly, I want to shout out to the band, because the guys are unbelievable. So lead guitar, Lou Germano, keyboards, vocals, Al Germano, his brother. On drums, Dwayne Draper. And then really we have a couple of folks that really need to be called out too, because they are also volunteers. On video is Joe Waddle. On lights is Nick Cozio. and production manager is Gina Ford. So thank you to those three who also donate their time at every show.
Well, it seems like each of you, if nothing else, is having a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And the thing is that you're going to continue it forever. Well, Nita and I just saw Paul McCartney a short while ago, and he's going to be 81 years old, and he did 2 hours and 45 minutes. Well, of course, we're 30,000 people there. He's got to get a charge out of it, but he's not doing it for the money, you know that, and he's doing it because of the pleasure of doing it, which I'm sure is the same with you guys. So, thank you for coming in. It was a delightful having you, and I want to remind everybody that the past shows on wherever you get your iHeart podcast or NoNonsenseRoundtable.com. And the other thing is you can reach out to me on NoNonsenseRoundtable.com if you want to suggest a guest, because I'm open to talking about just about anybody. And you know the show, we just sit here every Saturday and we talk to people and find out a little bit about them and what makes them tick. And I'm having fun. I hope you are too. So again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you. Well, we won't see you. We will be on the radio next week. Well, thanks for watching this YouTube. If you liked it, please like and share.